Ancient Greece is massive. To cover its entirety in a video, I need to talk not just about political history, but also scientific and economic history. That's not something that I really want to do, so I've narrowed the scope of this video to just one event in ancient Greek history, the Peloponnesian War. So, let's see what that's about. Before talking about the war itself, I have to set the stage. If I don't, you won't understand any of it. Your brain is too small. Yeah, anyway, it's 431 BC, and there are two major opposed city-states in Greece, Athens and Sparta. Athens is democracy, where people vote for leaders who run their city, whereas Sparta is a military dictatorship ruled jointly by two kings. Athens is powerful on the sea, whereas Sparta dominates the land. Sparta's on the Peloponnese, which is this peninsula on the south of Greece, but Athens is on mainland Greece, over here. Small side note, Sparta's a slave society, and you probably haven't heard of that. According to Herodotus, a famously unreliable narrator known to embellish in his stories, the Spartan slaves, known as Elotes, but for whum everyone just says Helots, outnumbered the free Spartans 7-1 in this time period, and so they had to be held in tight control. Just note that the 7-1 figure is heavily disputed. Side note over. Both city-states had what we'll be referring to as leagues. Leagues were essentially an alliance of multiple city-states. In this time period, there were two major leagues. The Delian League, headed by Athens, derived its name from the place where the member cities met, the island of Delos, over here. It's worth noting that while, yeah, it was still nominally a league, it would be fair to say that the members of the league were all holdings of the Athenian Empire by the time the Peloponnesian War started. Members had tried and failed to leave before. The Spartan League, known as the Peloponnesian League, was essentially the same as the Delian League, but with Sparta at its head instead of Athens. Now that we have this interesting, relevant, non-fluff, non-time wasting, definitely not uninteresting, in no way unnecessary, central to the story, well presented, cool, on topic, in no way off topic, important, and definitely not unimportant background, the topic itself, the Peloponnesian War. The thing you clicked on the video for? No? Maybe that small brain comment was warranted. By which I mean that we should start at the start of the war, because that sounds like a good idea. Yeah, let's do that. The war was ignited over a conflict in the stupid, dumb city of Megara over here. It was part of the Peloponnesian League, and started a war with another member of the Peloponnesian League, Korinth, for some stupid reason that nobody seems to know. Athens, making probably what it thought was a pro-gamer move, allied with Megara to gain a foothold in the Peloponnese. It was not a good move. Sparta got so mad that they started a 15-year war. Athens gained a bit of land, but Sparta launched a major invasion of Athens that Athens knew it would be unable to defend itself from. So they both agreed to a peace, known as 30 Years' Peace, which was meant to last 30 years, in which everything reverted back to how it was before the war. The end. Right? Nope, nothing's ever simple. That was known as the First Peloponnesian War, and there was still a lot of war to come. Soon after the end of that war, the city of Korinth ran into some problems. One of its colonies, the maritime city of Corcyra, managed to defeat Korinth during a small revolt of some sort. In response to this, Korinth started to build up a major naval force. Alarmed by this new development, Corcyra appealed to Athens for help in defense. Athens agreed to this and defeated the Corinthian navy at a battle in some strait, preventing them from capturing Corcyra. This was a clear violation of the 30 Years' Peace, the aforementioned treaty that ended the First Peloponnesian War. Just in case you didn't see where this was going, breaking treaties from previous wars pretty much always leads to more wars. Athens was definitely not the only bad guy in this situation. Athens instructed its colony, the city of Potidaya, which is over here, to tear down its walls, send hostages to Athens, remove currently serving Corinthian officials from city office, and refuse any further delegations from Corinth. In response to this, Corinth encouraged Potidaya to revolt and promised to support them if they did so. Potidaya agreed, and in the ensuing battle, Corinth sent a few contingents of soldiers to help defend the city, a clear violation of the 30 Years' Peace. Just in case you didn't see where this was going, you do see where this is going. So, the start of the Second Peloponnesian War. Here are some important things for you to know. Athens is essentially useless on land, but extremely powerful on sea, whereas Sparta's the opposite, blah blah blah. The Spartan strategy then clearly involved avoiding sea battles, focusing on land, whereas the Athenian strategy focused on the sea, yeah, obviously. Or at least, that was the strategy until the plague in Athens killed the head general of the army. That's probably something you didn't know. Normally I'd make a Spanish flu or Black Death joke, but nowadays we have another deadly infectious virus. Anyway, soon after that, a Spartan general named Brasidas won a decisive battle in the north of Greece, yet another peace was signed. This is known as the Peace of Nicaea, named after the man who'd brokered it, and that's the end. I fooled you. Nothing is ever simple, ever. The next phase of the war was started by some stupidity all the way over here in Sicily. Yeah, you know how I was using that map of Greece for this video? I can't actually show this on that map because Sicily's over here. It's not even in Greece. What the heck? This is so dumb. Okay, it's 3 in the morning. I can't scream, and I'm supposed to be screaming for this segment. Note from the editor, who is also me. I've named that file of me raging at Sicily, sicylymaprage.mp4. That's all. Basically, one of Athens' distant allies on the island got smacked by the city of Syracuse. The people of Syracuse were ethnically the same as Sparta, Dorians, so it was natural for them to be allied, whereas the Athenians and their ally were ethnically Ionian. To be clear, the Athenians weren't defending their Sicilian ally out of niceness. They had aims of conquering the entire island of Sicily. As for why they would want to do this, your guess is as good as mine. I don't know of any value that exists or existed ever on that island. To my knowledge, it's completely worthless and always has been. For whatever reason, Athens launched their expedition to Sicily and named it really creatively. Guess what the name is? You'll never figure it out. It's really good. It's the Sicilian Expedition. It was launched under a guy named Alcibiades. Alcibiades was recalled to Athens almost immediately after landing on Sicily for a trial. Due to fears about facing an unfair trial and being sentenced for a crime he didn't commit, he defected to Sparta. Bit embarrassing. Unlike some forms of Curran paranoia on the internet right now, his fears were completely legitimate for reasons which I don't really care to explain. Google it. The new commander of the expedition after Alcibiades unexpectedly left was Nicias, the guy who created the peace that he is now breaking. Pretty ironic. Proving his incompetence as a military commander, he stalled and barely hurt Syracuse over the entirety of the campaigning season. This allowed Syracuse to get assistance from Sparta. The combined forces of the two city-states completely destroyed the Athenian forces and prevented the invasion of the city. The Athenians realized how badly this could go for them, so they sent more reinforcements. Despite that, Sparta completely defeated the Athenian forces once again. Nicias initially wanted to retreat, but after seeing a bad omen, quote-unquote, which was actually a lunar eclipse, he delayed. This forced the Athenian forces into a major sea battle at the great harbor of Syracuse, which completely destroyed them. Completely defeated them. It ended them. It beat them up so badly that they were done fighting, because they lost very hard. They went inland looking for allies, but eventually all the Athenians were either killed or enslaved. And that's the end. Thanks for watching. As if. Nothing is ever simple. The Spartans didn't just fight the war in Sicily, they did it on the Greek mainland too. They stopped all overland shipments from the Peloponnese to Athens, meaning that Athens had to pay for the more expensive shipment by sea. In turn, Athens had to demand even more tribute from the Delian League members, further increasing tensions and inciting more rebellion. To use a bit of a technical term, Athens is in some big frickin' trouble. Somehow, despite their very, very precarious situation, Athens did manage to survive. How? At the start of the war, Athens had put aside a sizable sum of money and 100 ships, only to be used as a sort of break glass in case of emergency kind of thing. They used them now and dominated the Aegean with their fleet. Things were actually looking quite good for Athens if we ignore the fact that 400 oligarchs just took over the city government because they felt like it. Athens probably could have made peace at this point in the war and not have lost too much land. But that didn't happen. Athens pushed on into the war and that's why they lost. An absolutely brilliant Spartan general by the name of Lysander sailed his fleet all the way up here to the Dardanelles, which put Athens in a bit of a tough situation. You see, that was the primary source of Athenian food, but it was also a very narrow strait, meaning that it would be very difficult to maneuver the larger Athenian fleet and Sparta would have a much easier time winning. Athens elected to take the risk and send a fleet instead of facing certain starvation. Lysander then soundly crushed the Athenian fleet at the Battle of Agiospotami, ending the war in a decisive victory for Sparta. Democracy in Athens was suspended and was replaced by a system of 30 tyrants who tyrannically ruled the city with somewhere between 30 and 60 iron fists. Because if like one of them only had one hand, so it would be less than 60. Actually, if none of them had hands, it would be 0, so somewhere between 0 and 60 iron fists. Sparta consumed the entire Athenian Empire. Members of the Peloponnesian League, many of whom had actually sacrificed more for the war effort than Sparta itself, got absolutely diddly squat, by which I mean nothing at all. Like, they got nothing, not that that meant nothing. I mean, that's also true, but the real outcome of the war was the rise of a new Spartan empire, which replaced the old Athenian one. The end. Ha! Just kidding, nothing's actually, this is actually the end. Thanks for watching, leave a comment, a like, or dislike, or whatever it is that you wanted. I don't really care, I just need interesting, bye.